For over 5 decades, Ozzy Osbourne stood at the heart of heavy metal, a voice that carried through chaos, clarity, and collapse. From the earliest riffs to his final reflective ballads, he brought power, emotion, and a raw, shadowy beauty that few could match. Ozzy didn't just make music, he made moments. This isn't just a ranking, it's a tribute. 10 songs that will live on through the fans, the memories, and the music itself. Number 10. See You on the Other Side. This one didn't arrive with a scream, it lingered. Released in the mid-90s, See You on the Other Side marked a different Ozzy. Less apocalyptic, more reflective. The guitars were slower, the chorus heavy like fog. It was a eulogy wrapped in melody, a conversation with the void. And behind the music, Lemmy Kilmister helped shape the words. 2 longtime collaborators, both hardened by decades of noise and fallout, now writing as if preparing for silence. While grunge had taken over the airwaves, Ozzy didn't chase trends. He stood still and stared into the distance. The video, filled with shadows and ritual, matched the mood. It wasn't a reinvention, it was a reckoning. For fans who had grown up with the chaos, this song hit differently. It didn't preach, it paused. And in hindsight, it sounds less like a track and more like a farewell note. Something to leave behind, just in case. Number 9. Over the Mountain. There are songs that open albums, and then there are songs that blow the doors off. Over the Mountain was the latter. It kicked off his second solo record with the force of a cannonball. Randy Rhoads came in swinging, his guitar work sharp and manic, matched by Lee Kerslake's pounding drum intro, an intro he recorded just before being replaced in the credits. The rhythm section, fueled by internal tension, hit harder because of it. But beyond the sheer speed, the song held something more thoughtful. The lyrics spoke of belief, doubt, and trying to understand the world inside his head. It was fast, sure, but it was searching. And in the chaos of the early 80s metal scene, Over the Mountain was a mission statement. No filler, no filters, just Ozzy, asking questions at full volume. For many fans, it marked the beginning of his most intense solo stretch, and even now, it still hits like prophecy delivered through a megaphone. Number 8. Ordinary Man.
I've seen smiles, just remember.
This was the goodbye no one expected, but everyone now hears differently. Released in 2020, Ordinary Man arrived after a string of health scares, canceled tours, and interviews where Ozzy openly wondered if his time was running out. But instead of rage or rebellion, the song offered something rare: stillness. A moment of clarity from a man who had survived everything and knew it couldn't last forever. Elton John joined him on vocals and piano. Slash and Duff McKagan filled in the band. What came out didn't sound like a single. It sounded like old friends writing one last song for the road. In the studio, Ozzy admitted to crying when he heard the final mix. And now, with his passing, those lyrics sound like a closing chapter written in real time. He didn't want to be remembered as invincible, just as someone who tried, who hurt, who loved. An ordinary man who lived an extraordinary storm. Number 7. Shot in the Dark. If the mid-80s had a neon edge, this was Ozzy's sharpest cut. Shot in the Dark came at a time when his band was changing, his look was evolving, and his place in the industry was up for grabs. But this song, sleek, mysterious, and unshakable, put him back on top. The chorus stuck in your head like a secret you didn't mean to learn, and it became one of his biggest hits on MTV. But behind the polish, the story was tangled. Co-writer and bassist Phil Soussan left shortly after. The song's origins were traced back to a demo from Soussan's previous band, Wildlife, a link never formally credited. Later, Ozzy would disown the album it came from. For years, Shot in the Dark was absent from streaming platforms due to catalog disputes. Still, it refused to fade. Every comeback needs a spine. For Ozzy, this song was steel. Number 6. Bark at the Moon. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a howl. Released in 1983, Bark at the Moon was Ozzy's first major project after the death of Randy Rhoads, and every note felt like an exorcism. Guitarist Jake E. Lee brought a new fire, rewriting what the Ozzy sound could be. But tensions swirled behind the scenes. While Ozzy was credited as the sole writer, both Lee and Bob Daisley later claimed they were pressured into signing away their contributions. The music video went full gothic horror. Ozzy transformed into a werewolf using hours of prosthetic makeup, a move that fused music and myth, solidifying his image as the Prince of Darkness. The sessions were chaotic, soaked in addiction and grief. But the final track didn't stumble, it roared. And for fans still mourning Randy, it was the reassurance they didn't know they needed. The show wasn't over. The beast was still breathing. Number 5. Diary of a Madman. This wasn't just a metal song, it was a haunting. Diary of a Madman closed out Ozzy's second solo album with orchestral swells, unpredictable rhythms, and lyrics that blurred the line between autobiography and breakdown. It was dramatic, sure, but it felt earned. Written during a time of inner chaos and business disputes, the song played like a confession set to music. The recording process was a storm. Bassist Bob Daisley and drummer Lee Kerslake played on the album but were removed from the credits due to management decisions. Legal battles would follow for years. And yet the music endured. Randy Rhoads pushed the guitar work into operatic territory. Strings rose like ghosts around him, and Ozzy didn't scream, he trembled. It was a song about losing control, written by someone who knew what that meant. To this day, it stands as one of his most personal exorcisms. Number 4. Mama, I'm Coming Home. Every outlaw has a soft spot. For Ozzy, it was Sharon. Mama, I'm Coming Home wasn't just a love song, it was a surrender. A moment of vulnerability from a man built on madness. Lemmy Kilmister wrote the lyrics, unexpectedly tender from someone known more for headbanging than heartache. But he understood Ozzy, and Ozzy understood pain. The track came during a rare window of sobriety. Recorded in Los Angeles, it carried the warmth of reconciliation and the ache of absence. Sharon had stood by him through the worst, and this was his way of saying thank you. The phrase, "Mama, I'm coming home," was something he used to say on tour. Now it was immortal. It became a massive radio hit. But more importantly, it became proof that behind the eyeliner and the chaos, there was a man who knew what it meant to come back to love. Number 3. No More Tears. Some songs announce themselves. This one unfolded like a warning. No More Tears was a 7-minute epic, born in a studio jam that was never meant to last that long. But once the band locked in, they didn't stop. And when the take was over, they kept it all. No edits, just energy. The haunting bass line came from Mike Inez, at the time, not even a full band member. But it impressed Ozzy so much, it ended up shaping the track's entire mood. Zakk Wylde's solo was recorded in one take. No tricks, just instinct. The lyrics hinted at addiction, abuse, and the cost of living recklessly. But the sound? Cinematic, heavy, and immersive. The video, set in a dark warehouse with surreal visuals, only deepened the weight. This wasn't a single, it was a storm, and it pushed the album to multi-platinum status. For Ozzy, it was proof that after all the fire, he still had thunder. Number 2. Mr. Crowley. Inspired by British occultist Aleister Crowley, the track leaned into everything Ozzy had been accused of being and made it art. But behind the gothic flair was genuine curiosity. Ozzy wasn't glorifying the dark, he was exploring it. And society's fear of the unknown made it all the more powerful. Don Airey created the haunting organ intro on the spot, locking himself in the studio for half an hour before emerging with what would become one of metal's most iconic openings. Randy Rhoads turned the rest into a symphony of menace. This wasn't just the former Sabbath singer chasing shock value, it was the start of a solo mythology, one where mysticism met melody, and Ozzy found his own dark corner of the stage. Decades later, the mystique still lingers. Number 1. Crazy Train. This was the moment the world realized he wasn't done. After Black Sabbath, many thought Ozzy would fade. Instead, He brought a freight train. Crazy Train exploded off Blizzard of Oz with a riff that carved itself into rock history. Randy Rhoads created it while experimenting with harmonics and alternate scales. Bassist Bob Daisley heard the riff and joked, "It sounds like a train." The name stuck. The song tackled Cold War paranoia with a headbanger's grin. Mental Wounds Not Healing wasn't just a lyric, it was a diagnosis. And that laugh at the beginning? Completely real. Captured by accident in the studio as Daisley cracked up between takes. They left it in. And that chaotic burst became part of the legend. Crazy Train didn't just launch a solo career, it detonated it. It was a sonic riot, a madman's prophecy, a metal anthem born from Fallout and REI.